This is Mason Web TV, powered by HCC.
The following presentation on Mason Web TV, powered by HCC, is being brought to you by Hood Canal Communications, committed to providing quality services that exceed customer expectations in voice, video, data, and customer service, keeping our community connected since 1934. Mason County Public Health and Human Services Prevention Education Partners Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition. Mason PUD 3, connecting our community with safe, reliable, economical, and sustainable services 24/7. The Conklin team at Windermere Real Estate. When it comes to real estate, nothing compares to local knowledge. Mason County Public Utility District Number 1, Washington State's first public utility district, proudly serving the Hood Canal in Mason County since 1935. The Port of Shelton, promoting possibilities and providing economic benefit to our community. And Mason Health, united community, empowered people, exceptional health.
And start to make sure the candidates are ready. We'll get things going. We are streaming this live on Mason Web TV, so thank you for that. My name's Jeff Slakey from KMAS Radio, and I'm so happy to be here this afternoon. And it's so nice to see so many folks here as well, as we're going to get a chance to meet the candidates for Mason County Clerk, Auditor, and for Commissioner District 3. And a reminder that in this upcoming primary, where the ballots will be mailed out next week, folks in District 3 will be voting on these candidates. In the general election in November, the whole county will have the opportunity to vote for these candidates. So again, we have got for Mason County Clerk, Charles Rhodes, who is the current clerk, and Tammy Clark is the challenger here. For the auditor, we have the current incumbent, Steve Dunkel, Monica Balmer, and Vivian Glass. Tamara Ingwaldson is unable to make it here today. And for the county commission, we have, this is a wide open race, so we have a lot of folks that are putting their names in. Eric Anisco, Daniel Cameron, Karen Sullivan, George Blush, and Lovejoy Schaefer are all here. Miguel Gutierrez was unable to come, and I did get word earlier through Eric that Rick Lee earlier today had an accident and was in the hospital. He's okay, they're getting him out right now, but he also will be unable to attend. So what's going to happen here today, as you can see, our clerk candidates are already up here ready to go. I have got as many questions as it takes to get for each one. So I'm going to ask one of the candidates a starter question. They're going to have, well, we'll do an opener for 60 seconds, and then I'll ask a question, and that candidate will have an opportunity to answer the question for about 45 seconds, and then it's going to be an open discussion where the other candidate is able to answer as well, kind of talk a little bit more, and then we're going to go back and forth and have a conversation. I have my microphone, and I will be forcefully enacting the rules, so make sure everybody plays nice and make sure everybody has a chance to speak, especially as we get into the larger races. And so then everybody's going to get a chance to talk to into the microphone and talk with you. At the conclusion of all this, every candidate will have a 60-second closing statement as well, and I will indicate that by raising my hand that it's time to wrap it up. So now, as you can see, we have the flag here. If you're able to stand, please do, so we can do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll get things going here. I pledge allegiance to the flag And again, I appreciate everybody for being here. I'm thankful for everyone who asked me to partake in this conversation here today. And I think it's going to be a really good one to kind of learn about the candidates and their ideas on the topic and on the race. So I've got a tally sheet here that is going to kind of make sure people are talking, and if it's not going to be as bad with these two candidates here, but when we get into the larger races, to make sure everybody has an opportunity to speak. All right, we're starting here with the Mason County Clerk. Again, there's two candidates, so they already will be on the ballot in November. But again, it's a good opportunity to hear from them. It is time for a 60-second opening statement, and we'll start with the incumbent current clerk, Charles Rhodes. Charles, you have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this forum. I really appreciate it. Um, Again, I'm Charles Rhodes, and it's been my honor in my career to serve as your county clerk. Years ago, I stood before you and made 3 promises to restore order, accountability, and transparency to the clerk's office. I'm proud to say I've delivered on these promises. During my term, I have focused on strengthening the efficiency and integrity of the office and ensuring timely, professional, respectful service to the public and the court. I'm proud of what our office has accomplished. We've upgraded technology, modernized procedures, and invested in staff training, all resulting in better service for you and cost savings to Mason County. Our financial reporting is current and accurate, and we've actively pursuing delinquent accounts to protect public resources.
All right, thank you, Charles. That's 60 seconds. Tammy, you have 60 seconds for your opening statement as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out today. I appreciate seeing everybody's faces. My name is Tammy Clark, and I'm running for county clerk. I have over 20 years legal experience managing law firms, and also over 8 years volunteering for the Dispute Resolution Center, which offers mediation services in Thurston and Mason County. That means I have the skill set and the connections to work in the clerk's office. I work with attorneys on a regular basis, other county departments, as well as clients and people that need the services of the clerk. I am here today to, after this event, I'd be more than happy to talk to everybody. Again, I'm glad everyone's here. Again, my name is Tammy Clark, and I'm running for county clerk, and I would appreciate your support and your vote.
Thank you both. All right, we'll move into the first question here, and it's going to go to Charles. Charles, again, you'll have the first 45 seconds to answer this, and that will be an open conversation where, Tammy, you can enter in and talk with about your thoughts on this question. So again, these questions all have come from the latest meetings that have been happening through the County Commission and through different news sources, not only Mason Web TV, but the Journal and others. So here we go with the first question, and we'll open it up to a conversation. Charles, starting with you. Charles, we've seen the clerk's office have some staff turnovers in the last couple of years. I'd like to know a little bit more about what has been going on in the recent years to stabilize the staffing and whether or not you're able to continue to keep the court records in an accurate and timely manner. You have 45 seconds.
Thank you, Jeff. That's actually a good question. We are currently fully staffed. We are in the process of doing exactly what I said I was going to do. I received a grant of $97,878.32 from Washington State Patrol. We're doing our digitizing. I currently, all my staff are cross-trained to satisfy the public and to do all 8 case types of what we're responsible for. I have a minimum of 2 clerks that are able to do each case type. So, thank you.
And Tammy, now we're going to just open this up to a conversation. You work with the clerk's office. Are you aware of this? Do you know what this is? And what can you do if you are in the office to make sure the staffing stabilizes and the court records are able to be accurately reflected for the public?
Hi, thank you. Yes, so to give some numbers, the county clerk's department is budgeted for 12.5 staff members, and in the first 3 years of Mr. Rhodes' term, 20 people have quit, and that's a very high turnover. I know it's a stressful job, and the staff there need a lot of support. They need training, and they need somebody to back them up when they don't have all of the answers. It's very important to know that the clerk has a wide range of things to do, and there's all these little things that you may run across maybe once every 5 years, maybe once every 10 years. And you need somebody that's been there for a long time to remember, like, oh, this is how we handled this. This is who we reached out to answer those questions. And that's what the staff needs support on.
Charles, is that an accurate number, that 20 turnover?
Not even. Here's the thing. I haven't had a turnover in 2.5 years. Initially, we did have a turnover at the very beginning, but I needed to acquire the staffing that I have with the skill set that I have today. so that people are able to do their job and to do it to the best of their ability for Mason County residents.
Can you explain a little bit more of the other offices, the duties of the Office of Clerk?
I am the administrative and financial officer of the court. I hold several credentials, including I hold a CFE, which is I'm certified in fraud. The problem is that I had to, when we first started, I had to deal with people from an individual basis, and the people that I have, she says that I have an FTE of 12.5. That's wrong. She misspoke. I have an FTE of 13 currently, and we are fully staffed. I haven't had a turnover in over 2.5 years. So I don't know where she got her information.
Tammy?
So the information I received was through a public records request that was done. It showed that during Sharon Fogo's term, I believe 7 people quit, and during your term, 20 people quit. There was also 3 people that retired under Sharon Fogo. No one has retired under your office, and I believe 3 people were let go under your office, and I cannot remember off the top of my head how many people left Sharon's office due to termination.
But Tammy, there is a general turnover in any sort of a position. What are you attributing this to? Why is this such a point that you've been making here?
I attribute it to leadership and support, staff support. Like I said, I have over 20 years legal experience. I know that it's stressful in the legal field, and you need somebody to be a team member and a team leader. When I'm in the clerk's office and I'm in charge, that means that anything that goes wrong is my fault, and anything that goes good is to the staff's credit.
Charles, can you talk a little bit about your leadership style in reference to maybe what Tammy's been saying here?
Initially, what she's saying is, she's saying that she has X amount of years experience. I have 45 in finance. However, when I came to the office, before we even got started, Sharon Fogle wasn't even at the door, and there was 8 resignations. So I'm just so the information that she received is inaccurate.
All right, let's move on now to the next question. Tammy, I'm going to start with you on this one, and then Charles, you'll have the opportunity to have this conversation move on here. Tammy, for most residents, jury duty is their only direct contact with county courts, and in a rural county like Mason, it can mean lost wages and long drives. What would you do to make jury service work better here in the county, the summons and scheduling process, juror pay if available, or how people are treated once they get here? You have 45 seconds.
Thank you. So a lot of people don't like getting their jury summons. I always show up when I get summoned because I'm part of the system and I have to support the system. And I want to thank everybody that shows up to help support the system as well. I know it's not a fun job. I know you're about to hear a terrible story and have to make some really hard decisions. When I'm clerk, I will make sure that everything is run efficiently and timely so that no one's time is wasted, so that the prosecutor and the defense get everything that they need, so the judge is ready, and so that everybody that's sitting and waiting is ready to go as soon as possible.
Charles, can you talk a little bit about, you can answer that of course too, but then I want to hear kind of how the process works in Mason County, the jury pool that's available here in the county and things like that.
I'm sorry.
Nope. Yeah.
The jury pool is derived from 2 sources, one being Department of Licensing and the other one being voter registration. We send out our jury summonses through a third party. It has nothing to do with the clerk's office. Yes, the jury manager works for me. However, when it goes to Peregrine, which is out of state, and they send out the information, then it's the responsibility of us to process that information. That is it. It is done by a third party. We are responsible for 3 courts, both Muni, District, as well as Superior. We have had many juries where we had 3 in 1 week, 3 jury trials. So it happens. But the point being is there's really nothing the jury can do. It doesn't have the authority. If she was a clerk, we don't have the authority to make modifications in the jury pool.
Talk to me a little bit about some of the barriers that people have. They get pulled for jury duty, and then they take time off work. They have to find perhaps care for their children or their loved ones who they live with. They get to the jury office or they get to the courthouse, and then all of a sudden there's a stay, there's a continuation. They have kind of had to rearrange their whole day and then find further opportunities. Is that?
Again, we have no control over that. If there's a continuance, that is on the judge. Many times the judge will have a continuance, and the continuance will be predicated upon the attorneys involved. Sometimes they're not ready, sometimes they're short of staff, sometimes, and that happens. However, I do have to make it a point to tell you that, unfortunately, because we have a small county, we have 68,000 people here, we're reluctant into giving any type of excuses. However, many times we have to do that. It used to be at the age of 70, it didn't require anybody over the age of 70 could be excused from jury. Now it is 80 because we don't have the pools to draw from.
Tammy, do you have anything to further talk about on this?
Yeah, so it's really complicated. When we get ready to go to trial, there's lots of factors that have to be in place. Even some of the criminal trials, the deal is made as the jury is coming in, as the jury pool is coming into the courthouse to go through voir dire. It's hard. It's just part of the system. It's how it works. I think that what I'd like to reiterate is if you come to the clerk's office and you're there for jury duty, you're going to have to be waiting a little bit, but I want to guarantee that I will be working as hard as I can to make everything go smoothly and quickly so that everybody's ready to go and there's no wasted time.
In the final couple minutes here we have, I want to talk about the end of the process when it comes to a court, and that pertains oftentimes to restitution. And I know one of the office clerk positions is making sure that gets paid out on a timely fashion. What can you talk about if you were to become the clerk on this one to make sure that restitution is given to those who are offered that to make sure they get it in a timely fashion?
So one of my other skill sets is organization. I'm very big about having things organized so that it's time efficient and well run. I implement things like this in my office all of the time. The restitution is, there's going to be things added to it, money coming in. Sometimes there's not going to be payments, but there has to be a system set in place so that every time, at a certain time every week, we go through and we get the list and we get the checks out that need to go. We need to update the list to make sure that we're getting the checks out to where they need to go. And that's part of the financial responsibility of the clerk. It's not just restitution. There's other things. There's money being held in trust for foreclosures and other things, and it just requires constant supervision and overview of what's going on and making sure that every week at the same time that we're getting everything out.
Finally, Charles, have a chance to talk to us a little bit about how that currently is happening in the courts, in the clerk's office, in regards to restitution and the other parts there.
I don't know what she's talking about, because restitution, I have the checks out on restitution by the 10th of every month. Not only do I have the checks out on restitution, if there is an issue and I have the time and the funds are already in registry and trust, I will submit. Process a check while the customer waits. So I don't know where she's getting this information, because to be honest with you, on restitution we have a turnaround time of about 48 to 72 hours, and I've been able to maintain that.
Well, folks in the community, you're able to talk with them at the conclusion of this a little bit more about that. It's time for our closing statements, and Tammy, we'll start with you. You have 60 seconds for your closing statement here this afternoon.
Okay, I just want to thank everybody again for coming out. I appreciate you being here. Again, my name is Tammy Clark, and I'm running for county clerk, and I'm asking for your support and your vote. I have been endorsed by Pat Swartos, who was the county clerk for 40 years, exactly 40 years. She became the clerk in 1972 and retired in 2012. I've also been endorsed by Judge Vicki Meadows. Again, I'm asking for your support and your vote. I am looking forward to serving Mason County. I love this county. I moved here 10 years ago, and I've fallen in love with this place and the people. So I appreciate your vote, and I'm looking for your support. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Tammy. Charles, you have 60 seconds for your closing statement.
Okay, I believe in public service. It's more than just doing a job. It's about responsibility, fairness, and earning the trust of the community. It takes showing up every day and getting the details right for the people who depend upon us. I promise to keep working hard to deliver the dependable leadership and service that Mason County deserves. I'm Charles Rhodes, and I'm asking for your vote to re-elect me as your Mason County Clerk. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this primary election, you'll see both of their names on the ballot, and they are also both moving into November. But again, a big hand for both the candidates here, the incumbent Charles Rhodes and Tammy Clark. Thank you both.
Thank you, Jeff.
Next up will be the auditor's race, so if we can get Steve and Vivian and Monica up to the stage. Yeah, if you need to move those at all, you certainly can. All right, folks, it's time now for our county auditor race. The top two will move on to the November general election, but you'll see all four with Tamara Ingleton's name on the ballot that comes out this week. We have the incumbent auditor, Steve Dunkel. We also have Monica Balmer and Vivian Glass as well here this afternoon. Again, candidates, you'll have 60 seconds for your opening statement, and then I'll start asking some questions where we'll open it up to a further conversation, just like we heard. Auditor Dunkel, we'll start with you as the incumbent. You have 60 seconds, and you can begin now.
Okay, very good. First of all, thank everybody for being here. And I want to thank the people of Mason County for the honor that it's been to serve in my first term as your full spectrum auditor, including actual auditing. Your amazing elections team and I have taken the issues of election security, transparency, and integrity and brought Mason County to best in class in Washington State. We've also introduced in-person voting opportunities at the Shelton Voting Center and the Belfair Voting Center. We've administered 15 excellent elections. Even my opponents admit in recent interviews that there are no issues, or they see no issues with recent elections. Your terrific licensing and recording team and I have worked together to introduce innovative services to help property owners protect themselves against title fraud and deed fraud. And I'm running for county auditor for a second term to strengthen our fraud prevention culture, strengthen election security, and also I want to explore introducing licensing operations into Hoodsport along with other government services and voluntary pet licensing. Thank you very much.
Vivian, it is your time now for a 60-second opening statement.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vivian Glass. I'm from Hoodsport, Washington. I moved to Mason County last year. Before that, I grew up in Thurston County, Washington, was raised by a single mom on benefits, and these services, I believe, gave me a seat at the table today. I am running on accessibility in elections for both voters and candidates. I believe that transportation should be expanded for people, whether you don't trust mail-in voting and you're further on the right, or you're on the left, you deserve access to voting. I'm taking a nonpartisan approach. I'm open about my values. I would call myself a democratic socialist, and part of the part I want to be more accessible for candidates is lowering the candidacy filing fee. The candidacy filing fee is based off of the auditor's salary, which is 1%, so it was $1,045 to put in your candidacy for auditor. I think that's inaccessible for a lot of working class people of this county, and it should be fixed.
All right, thank you, Vivian. Monica, you have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming here today. It's nice to see all of you. My name is Monica Ballman. I'm running for Mason County Auditor. I bring over 30 years of experience in public service. I've been in law enforcement for over 20 years. I currently work for the Department of Social and Health Services. I am a supervisor of up to 14 investigators there. I am experienced in financial oversight, fraud investigations. I investigate abuse, neglect, and financial exploitation of vulnerable adults. And I'm here to run for Mason County Auditor today. That's it.
Thank you, Monica. All right, we're moving on into the questions portion here. Auditor Dunkel, we'll start with you. Running elections is a core duty of the office. Can you explain a little bit how you've delivered both security and access, and what's one thing that you have either changed or improved on in your time in the office?
Well, a couple things on the topic of security. We were the first in Washington State to get security, surveillance security video cameras on all of our vote-by-mail drop box locations. We have also taken steps to increase the physical security of our tabulation equipment by building a dedicated room for it. And in preparation for big elections, we go through multiple tabletop exercises with law enforcement to protect against every possible threat. In terms of access, we've started a temporary vote center up in Belfair. We have a temporary vote center day at the senior center in Shelton, and we're exploring other opportunities to increase access.
Thank you very much. At this time now, we're going to kind of open this up. So first, if anybody has a quick reaction to that question or would like to answer, feel free to go ahead and we'll move on from there.
I believe that voter security and election security is about making voters trust in elections. It's not fostering any conspiracy. It's not fostering claims of fraud. That is voter suppression in my eyes. And I'm so glad you brought up surveillance, because I noticed that on one of your campaign signs by my home, you have a sign that says you are being surveilled, and I don't think you have the right to surveil Mason County residents via your political signage.
We'll get to that answer in just a second. Monica, do you have anything further on that opening statement?
No.
Steve, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, I'd like to respond to that. I mean, it's really important to have a realistic and real-world view of the vulnerabilities of your election system so that you can actually take the opportunity with those insights and information to put mitigations and protective measures in place. No system's perfect. No system is perfect. Everything has its weaknesses, and it's my job as your auditor to make sure that those weaknesses are mitigated to the fullest extent we can protect against it under the law.
Monica, can you talk a little bit about what other ways you would do to make sure that the vote is secure here in Mason County?
First and foremost, I would not be the chair of a party. I don't think that is anything that should be done in the auditor's office. It's a conflict of interest to be a chair of one party, and it brings the wrong lights to the auditor's office.
Can you explain why you think that?
I do believe that because the auditor's office should be independent and should not be leaning left, right, or independent.
Steve, obviously, she's
middle.
talking to you about this. Can you explain that and the role you have in the party?
I'd love to. This topic's been around for a long time, and so thank you for the opportunity to explain. The power of a political party rests with the precinct committee officers. As chair, my job is simply to run the business meetings according to the party bylaws and Robert's Rules of Order. I don't make motions, I don't vote on anything, I make no endorsements. On the other hand, all three of my competitors are either precinct committee officers or running for PCO, and I think that's a little bit disingenuous. So there is no conflict. As auditor, I've also made it clear that for this election and the November election, I've recused myself from any ballot processing, any vote adjudication. There is no conflict.
Vivian?
Well, first of all, as auditor, you don't process ballots at all, so that's not something that you introduced. It's just part of the process of being the auditor. Also, I would say that I'm running for a precinct committee officer. It's the only office you can run for while you also run as auditor or clerk or treasurer or whatnot. And that's my choice, and you have to pick a political party for that. And I was very open in the fact that I chose Democrat for that position because I'm morally aligned with Democrat. However, I'm independent in this race, and as well, I'm the only political candidate for auditor that has not taken any monetary endorsement from a political party or politically aligned organization. I also don't have a campaign fund at all. I'm not asking for money from any Mason County residents, and I'm doing this on my own via social media because I think that local politics should be accessible.
Monica, do you have the respond to that as well?
I agree to what Vivian says. I find it great that she is not affiliated with any party other than running for PCO, I believe. You're a Democrat with the Democratic Party?
No monetary funds.
Okay, got it. So I have nothing else to add.
Let's talk a little bit now, moving on to the next question, and we'll start with you, Vivian, on this one. Beyond elections and budgets, the auditor's office is where residents go for vehicle and vessel licensing, recording documents and passports. Folks from our rural corners of the county, that can sometimes be hard to reach. Talk a little bit about where you think the office may be falling short for ordinary residents and what you would do to fix that.
I think that no matter if you're on the left or right, one of the concerns you have is affordability. And that goes along with transportation and gas prices and the ability to get to these offices to process these documents and get your licensing. One of the things that's great about Mason County is we have the MTA that's funded and provides free transportation to our community members. And that's something that I think should be expanded for elections and services to get to the office of the auditor to be able to process those services.
Monica, do you feel that there are shortfalls in the office regarding these types of things that I mentioned?
I would like to see more support for the staff. I would like to see more support in training the staff. And I would like to see the auditor more in the office. So what I can bring is I will be in the office every day, and I will make sure that the staff is trained up and supported every day and every hour of that we're providing public service. And I will be even out there providing public service myself. So I also find the idea that Vivian just brought is a very good idea, to have transportation services for the community for these services. So, but I don't know if the auditor could get involved in something like this.
Well, Steve, can the auditor, as you know the role to be now, get involved in those? And what are you doing and have done to strengthen some of these things that I mentioned?
So in the licensing world, we have two sub-agents. We have tabs and titles up in Shelton, and we also have the North Basin Chamber of Commerce up in Belfair. And as I said in my opening statement, I'm exploring options to start up licensing operations in Hoodsport. As far as elections goes, we do have transportation aligned with Mason Transit Authority to bring people to the voting center for those who have mobility and access issues or challenges already. As far as being in the office, my staff criticizes me for even being in there on weekends and holidays. So as far as the number of hours worked by any auditor in recent history, I'd probably hold the title. But
yeah, Monica, you mentioned that actually. Is there a reason why you may have said that?
This is for staff support. I don't think they work on weekends and holidays, so I'm just referring to being in the office while they're working, so they have my support.
Okay.
And you're right, they don't work weekends and holidays. I do. And as far as training, our employees have to be qualified and certified to local ordinances and laws, state laws, and federal laws. They have all that training. If they didn't have their certifications and qualifications, they couldn't do their job.
Vivian, let's talk a little bit about the applying for the position. Like you mentioned, perhaps lowering the threshold on how much it costs at 1%. Explain to me how you felt working through that application process, and if there's ways that it could make it more streamlined here in Mason County, or is that more of a statewide issue that needs to be looked at?
I think it's county. The process of filing candidacy was pretty streamlined, I would say, but it's the cost barrier that's not so streamlined. Many people don't have $500 after paying off their debt to cover an expense. So I don't think that your wealth should dictate whether or not you should be involved with local politics, and I think you deserve a foot in the door.
Steve, please talk a little bit about that and why those thresholds are there for folks to.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So candidate registration fees are set by state law. And for those who don't have the financial means, there is an alternative. You can go and collect the number of signatures equivalent to the number of dollars that are required to file. So if you need $1,000 to file and you don't have it, you can go get 1,000 signatures.
And Monica, do you have anything to add on this topic?
No.
Let's talk a little bit more about just kind of the election integrity conversations. Early in your tenure, Steve, we saw a lot of media talking about what's been happening in our community regarding the votes and the counting of votes and where the ballots may be coming from. Talk a little bit about that as some of your first parts of being in the auditor's office, and then we'll open that up to everyone else on how that all worked out.
Well, my first focus in terms of election security when I first took office was really the voter registration database. The database changes every day, all the time, as people move in and move out, people die and what have you, right, and become 18 years of age. So it's a never-ending job. And I was putting it initially up to half my time every day and every week into voter registration database maintenance, in addition to the great work that the elections team was already doing. If you're going to have election integrity, it starts with having integrity in the voter registration database. The next focus was on physical security and intrusion security for the voting election system, the tabulation equipment. And I was able to use Secretary of State Information Security grant money to put those protections in place. And I think we've covered the other things, but really it starts with a voter registration database that's as current and correct as possible. We have had a number of voter registration challenges, and all that effort is really aimed at ensuring that the right ballot gets to the right voter at the right place.
Vivian, what do you have to comment on that when it comes to voter integrity and things like that?
Voter integrity is based on getting as many people that are eligible to register to vote to register, and then out of that population of registered voters to get as many people to turn out to actually vote. That's how you protect elections. When the most people that are registered to vote get out and actually vote, the results of the election are the most accurate to the opinions of the average voter. That's what needs to be focused on. He says there's an ever-changing registration pool. Of course there is. And if we needed to prove identity to be able to vote and prove citizenship, that would put a huge administrative hold and pressure to keep that registration list up to date.
Monica, do you believe that that's an accurate statement?
Vivian's statement?
Yeah, that you have to have, if you have the ID and the proof of citizenship, that it will kind of bog down the works of that to make sure everything is ready to go and everybody's eligible?
This is definitely how it should be. I cannot speak on how it is right now in the auditor's office. I do still believe that there should be more outreach to the younger generation. The younger generation should be involved in politics and in elections and should know how things work and how they can have their voices heard. I don't think this is happening right now. And when it comes to the voter polls, by the way, I don't believe that those are very accurate at this point. I've seen it myself, and I have received information that voter polls are not accurate in Mason County. And this would be something I would work on with the state auditor as well, to have these voter polls just done correctly.
Steve?
So a few things. So first of all, the voter registration database is the responsibility of the Secretary of State, not the state auditor. And the voter registration database is a lot different than walk lists. They come from two different sources. And as far as access goes, under state law, it's statute, it's state policy that we are to do everything possible to make elections and voter registration as accessible as possible to everybody. And we follow that law. We're not short on that. We do everything we can to get people registered to vote. As far as voter turnout goes, that's up to the campaigns, the candidates, and the people sponsoring initiatives and measures. The auditor is not a head coach or a quarterback on the field. Our job is referee. We make sure that everything is followed properly. Turnout, that's up to the campaigns and the sponsors.
I'd like to have the final question be, I think, more of a federal change, but it does impact the local elections, especially here in Mason County, where some of our post offices are further away. The counting of the ballots, the postmark of the ballots as they leave the post office as opposed to when they are picked up. Do you, Auditor Dunkel, can you share how that impacted the previous election and what you have done in the county and the state and with your counterparts across the state to make sure that people are able to get their ballots in and counted in a timely fashion, even if they are put in the mail the day of the election as it has been in the past?
So a couple things. first of all, we did see a slight degradation or a slight increase in the number of ballots that were judged to be too late based on the postmark when the Postal Service changed that policy. So in response to that, we've been encouraging everybody, one, use the vote by mail drop boxes. They're all over the place, and we've got new ones out there now. Also, if you're going to use the post office, take and make the effort to get a hand stamp for the day that you actually turn it over to the clerk, so it's there and you're not relying on the machine-applied stamp from the processing distribution center. And Mason County also, we get our ballots out a week before the statute requires to give everybody extra time, right? We want everybody to have extra time to take the time that they need to make the decisions they need to make to express their sovereign voice. So in a lot of ways, we're out there, we're leading, and across the state, that same message is getting out. If you have any concerns, use the drop boxes. You can use any drop box in state. You can put your Mason County ballot in Spokane County, and it will get here on and judged on time if it makes it in between or makes it in before 8 p.m. on Election Day. And again, if you have concerns and have to use the mail, get that postmark the day you hand it in.
Vivian, how do you feel about this change on a federal basis that has impacted Mason County voters, as we just heard? And does it increase or decrease voter turnout, do you think?
Are you talking about the SAVE Act?
No, I'm talking about the change where we're just talking about you have to have
With the postmark.
With the postmark.
I do believe it keeps elections secure. Obviously, you want people to be turning in their vote by when it's supposed to be. So yeah, postmarking your ballot is a way to secure that it was turned in the amount of time in which you're supposed to turn in that ballot. I don't have anything against that.
Monica?
The same.
It's time for our closing statements now on this conversation that we've had. We'll start with Monica. Here you have 60 seconds for a closing statement. You can begin now.
Thank you again for coming out, everybody. And I am Monica Ballmer. I'm running for Mason County Auditor because I believe that the Auditor's Office should be grounded in professionalism, accountability, and public service. I am here to make that change. I am not a politician, as you can see. I care about Mason County. I care about the people in Mason County. I care about the staff in the Auditor's Office, and I want to be here for their support. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Monica. Vivian, you'll go next.
Thank you for coming out today and listening to me. I know that some people here don't agree completely with my political views, but I want to focus on accessibility because that reaches everyone of all political views. Expanding transportation and also lowering candidacy filing fee, that's not a liberal agenda, that is an American agenda. We need more accessibility in elections for local people, and I have 3 years of experience as a Department of Social Health Services public benefit specialist. I process food, Medicaid, Medicare, cash assistance, housing, domestic violence, and now I'm the caregiver of my grandfather, who is a World War II veteran of the Vietnam and Korean War. And his upbringing, his union protections, and the job that he had, the medical care that he got, the education that he was able to give his children, that's what makes me a patriot, and that's a democratic process.
Thank you. Auditor Dunkel?
Hey, so thank you again for everybody coming out today. Again, it has been a complete honor to serve as your auditor in my first term. Everything that I do is because I have an amazing staff, and I'm very thankful for them. Everything that comes out of the auditor's office is through and with them. And yeah, we're going through a little bit of challenging times with the reorg right now, and you know, we've had some great people leave after long terms of service, and it's been on great terms. And I mean, you work 20 years in a job, you have the right to move on, right? You don't have to stay in the same job for life. So if you have questions about how the auditor's office is run, come on down. I've tried to make every aspect of it available to the people. It's your office, and I am your auditor. And again, I want to thank you. I'm Steve Dunkel, and I would appreciate your vote in the August 4th primary. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, the candidates for Mason County Auditor, Monica Ballmer, Vivian Glass, and Steve Dunkel. Again, the top two will move on, so you'll see these names as well as Tamara Ingwaldson in this ballot that will come out next week. Thank you all very much, and take a time to head back in, and then we'll have more time for you to talk with the candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph.
All right, county commission candidates, come on up here. Yeah, with 5 candidates here, it'll kind of be a split, so feel free to come up and we'll go one, and everybody can come on up here. Come on up, George, Eric. So in this scenario here, that's great. You guys will have the opportunity to step forward, make your comments, and then if anyone else has a further comment, that's where you'll come up and make your statement heard. And as we've had, it'll just kind of be a continuation of a conversation here. I've got 5 questions for you, and each will have an opportunity to start with a question. So first things first, we will do opening statements. Lovejoy, we'll start with you. You have 60 seconds to begin. Step on up to the mic. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lovejoy Schaefer. I'm running for Mason County Commissioner District 3. I am from Mason County. I grew up here. My family is here. I am running to reduce the risk to Mason County taxpayers as far as implementing training, proper background checks, along with policies for cost effectiveness, and basically go over the budget and make sure that there isn't extra expenses that could be minimized as far as the risk is concerned. I think Mason County should be more proactive instead of reactive. And doing that will make us reduce the risk greatly. I am a very great advocate for people's property rights. That's important to me. I know it's important to a lot of families that are from here.
All right, thank you, Lovejoy. Karen, come on up. We'll start with you now. And you have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
Thank you all for being here today. Ooh, excuse me. My name is Karen Shade Sullivan. I am proud to be a 3rd-generation Mason resident. My father was raised on Camp Grisdale and Camp 5. My mother was Forest Festival Princess. I have got over 40 years of financial industry experience. The last 15 years I've been here in Mason County for an office for Edward Jones. I stand for fiscal responsibility, and I love this county. Came every summer. Every summer we came back home, and I want to protect Mason County.
Thank you, Karen. Dan, your time now, 60 seconds. Step on up to the mic.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out. I'm Dan Cameron. I'm running for County Commissioner. Before I start, I'd like to thank my wife for supporting me and being a rock. So I'm running for Commissioner because I see growth coming, and it's going to come whether we like it or not. We need to handle it before it handles us. I have been around the military for 25 years, and I've seen what growth does to areas. I'm well versed in that. I'm also the president of Crossroads, which is our local shelters, and we have a 97% success rate from homelessness to permanent housing. I also do a lot of stuff with the veterans in town. That includes building wheelchair ramps for veterans that need it and other things, like cleaning up the yards and stuff. So I've been doing the work. I just want to keep doing the work. So I would appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Eric Anisco, please step up, and it's your time for a 60-second opening statement.
Good afternoon. I'm Eric Onisco. I'm running for County Commissioner District 3. I'm currently on the Shelton City Council for 8+ years now. I was 4 years as mayor. I believe that, okay, let's start with it. I want to make sure the county's budget is intact and moving forward in the proper direction. In the city of Shelton, first meeting, we had a $4.7 million deficit in our budget. And since the last 8 years, we've had a positive balance in our budget. I also want to make sure we do that with the county as well. I'm involved in multiple county boards, committees. I've attended their meetings probably over 10 years now and keep myself informed of all actions in the county and city. I have been here for 50 years in the city of Shelton. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Eric. George Blush, you have 60 seconds for your opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. My name is George Blush. I am also a Shelton City Council member, and I am also a board member at Crossroads Housing. I am chairman of the Mason County Housing Authority. I run 5XL Shelton Pet Food Bank. And I run Nita's Coffee Shop, the oldest coffee shop in town here in Mason County. I'm running for Mason County Commissioner because there's some issues that we need to get squared away. We need to get some things cleaned up. We need to get our budget back in order. Like Eric said, we did some really good stuff this last few years with the Shelton budget, and we need to keep moving in that direction. Another problem that we have here that's been a black eye to our community for a long time is animal control. I'm an animal guy. I run a pet food bank, and I hear the problems with the animals and the different things that are coming up with that every day. And I think it's something that we as a community can solve together, just like we did in the city. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you, George. Again, folks, when we get into these questions here, they all come from the previous month and a half of county commissioner meetings and briefings that have all been not only publicly available to watch in person, but also on Mason Web TV. So we will start with the first question here. George, we'll start with you. Come on up to the mic. You'll have 45 seconds to answer this. Maybe a minute, because it's kind of a long question, but then we'll open it up to everybody. Again, if you have something to say, please come up to the microphone, speak directly into the microphone, and then we will move through. If you are not adding anything to the conversation, I will call on you, and I'll move it around as best I can. So, question one. George, the board is targeting $2 to $3 million in cuts for the upcoming 2027 budget, and county costs rise about $1.2 million a year automatically before any new spending. Name the first specific thing you would cut, and would you support furloughs, hiring freezes, or public safety sales taxes to close the gap? Please begin.
I would definitely support hiring freeze, but not to the point where we completely, if we have a position that absolutely needs to be filled, then we should always fill that. But as far as adding extra people, like over the last few years, we've added, I want to say, over 50 people over the last 5-7 years, and that's not sustainable. So we need to slow down on creating new positions and creating more problems that we don't need.
And specifically, what would you look at cutting if you had to come up with that?
We have a lot of extra help type positions throughout, just like in the city. You have different noxious weed things and things like that. So you look at the extra help positions and you begin there, and then you slow weed your way down.
Eric, let's bring you into the conversation. Dan, Karen, Lovejoy as well. And George, you can stay up too, and it's your time if you want to add more to this. But again, what would you cut if you needed to look at the budget in that way? Furloughs, hiring freezes, or a public safety sales tax?
First, I think we need to see if we actually have a problem with the budget. I mean, we have different opinions, wrong figures, correct figures, figures that are out of line with others. We are not in trouble today in the county. Maybe it could be down the road, but I would not go in there saying I'm going to lay off anybody at this moment in time. We need to work on a lot of problems, and we got a lot of problems coming. We've got public defender problems, prosecution problems, we've got court problems, we've got unfunded mandates. I mean, we're going to deal with all of that. So,
anyone else please step up and make that comment?
Last night I was looking over the budget. I just think you need to look at all the departments and see if there is a little extra there that you could. I mean, I would not want to lay off anyone. I think a hiring freeze would be the smartest thing to do at the moment so that you can really look into those books and look into the budget to see what you could.
Lovejoy, Dan?
Go ahead.
I would say the hiring freeze. But
Preceding
I would
presentation
like to
on Mason.
hire a forensic accountant to go through the budget to find out where's all the excess money going. I want to know exactly where it's going and make sure it's not going anywhere it's not supposed to. And then go through and make sure that everyone within each department is being the most efficient that they can be.
can I? Oh, go ahead.
Nope, Dan, is that Dan a chance?
So I do support the hiring freeze, and that's if someone retires or quits, we don't hire someone for that position. And we just man up the departments. Also, layoffs and firings, I don't agree with that. We can work with what we got right now. We need to be a better team as a county. One of the things I see in the budget that wastes money is these independent contracts. The most recent one was the 5-year plan for the homeless thing. Instead of doing it in-house, we hired people in Atlanta and San Francisco $140,000 of our money went to another community. That money's not going to be spent here. It's a waste. So we need to make the people do what their jobs are instead of hiring out.
Eric, you said you wanted to say something?
Let's talk about a hiring freeze. Right now, we have the unfunded mandates about the public defender reducing their case count. So if we have a hiring freeze and we don't hire public defenders, then we're not going to be arresting anybody because they can't have an attorney. We can't take them to court. So I would really be careful about saying we're going to do a hiring freeze when we need, I don't know, 10, 15 public defenders plus prosecutors as well. As in for, I was on the Housing Behavioral Advisory Board for probably 7+ years now, and I'm not on it any longer. They hired out because it was a state unfunded mandate, 5-year homeless plan, very complicated, and so they hired somebody to lead us through the program, and it was multiple agencies were involved, and it took almost a year and got it done.
George, you have anything to add to this?
I want to make clear that I wasn't implying about firing people at all. I was more implying about not hiring more people as people leave. And then cutting small things from different departments. Like they said, every department can be a little bit leaner. We learned that in the city. You know, we had some people that left and we just didn't hire people. We kind of spread out their workload, or man up, as Dan likes to say, and we make it happen, you know?
Let's talk a little bit about what that does to the efficiency in county government if there are unfilled positions when people are looking for different departments to answer the phones or get things completed in timely fashion. Do you think that that would be a hindrance to the current workload to the employees of the county, and how would that benefit the rest of the county residents? Karen Lovejoy, anything on that?
Well, I think it makes it hard with the unions if you've got someone doing 2 jobs and they're only getting paid for 1, so that's not right. I mean, there's always something that we can do to try and make them more efficient. And sometimes you look at certain departments and it doesn't appear to be very efficient. So I think there are still things we can do in each department to try and help people understand exactly what their job entails, along with what kind of statutes that they should already know for these jobs. And I think it goes right back into training. And as far as them doing 2 jobs, that's kind of that'd kind of be hard to get around when you're working with unions.
Final comments on this question?
Well, I think you just have to be efficient in all those departments. I think you need to go to department to department, say, how can we be a little more efficient? Ask the department first. They know how that department runs better than any supervisor half the time, so.
Let's move on to the next question. Eric, we'll start with you. The county sitting on, depending who you hear from and talk to, between $19 and $23 million in reserves. Some folks may call that a good cushion. Others may say it's kind of hoarding some money from the taxpayers. So let's talk a little bit at the right reserve level for the county, and what would you spend any of it down on specifically?
Well, their policy is 15 to 25%. Of course, everybody's going to budget towards a 15% range, and then maybe be a little short throughout the year. So I would definitely want to have something towards the middle, an 18 or 20% reserve, and then the rest should be used either for one-time projects or going into other programs as well.
Dan, let's bring you in. And of course, anybody else, please feel free to walk up and conversate on this.
I agree with Eric. I think it should be no more than 18%. The reserve, having $20 million in reserves, it's a lot of money. We could be using some of that money for road improvements or, fixing people's potholes, whatever. Put it back into the community in Mason County. We need to, stop spending and saving so much and improve our community.
Karen has talked a little bit about where you're at on that with those numbers and what you would do with some of that money if it was open to spend.
Well, I think in the middle. I mean, I always plan with my clients to have that emergency fund, but you don't want too much because your money's not really doing anything for you. If it's in your general fund, you're not earning anything on it. I think it needs to be about 15%, and I think it needs to be the services that are getting the least served for our taxpayers.
Lovejoy?
A happy medium is always nice. as far as the reserve is concerned. And as far as some of the departments, I know for a fact with Public Works that we are working our best to do as many improvements as we can in the roadways with the amount of money that we have, even though we do have a certain amount of money that is taken from our department. So I know that departments are doing their best. I just know that some could be improved, and with that money, it's always it has to be a happy medium with the reserve.
And George, let's
There's
talk.
not always one answer.
George, let's talk about this with you here, and then also, if you can, kind of correlate it too with what's going on in the city in regards to those kind of same conversations.
So we just had a conversation about this recently in the city, so I'll do it like that. When you say you have $28 million in the bank, people think you have this big, huge pot of money that's sitting in one place that you're just collecting interest on and everything's great. And that's definitely not the case. You have roads, you have sewer, you have water, you have all these different departments, and they each have different amounts of money. And the reason we have this amount of money is so if each department has any sort of crisis, we can get behind it and fix it. And like in the city, we've seen pumps go down. And when a pump goes down in the city, there's only 4 major pumps. When a pump goes down, that's a big problem. That needs to be fixed now. Not in a couple of months, not when we can get the money together, but now. And if you keep running through your reserves too fast, then you're not going to be able to be prepared for the emergencies. And they happen here. Fires, things like that happen. You want to be ready for that when those things come.
If there is a able carve out of a certain amount of percent, what would you think would be the best served use of that funds to benefit the county overall? And I'm going to ask all of you that same question.
Oh, definitely investing in roads, infrastructure. You can't go wrong with that because those are things that you're going to have to invest in eventually anyway, and they never seem to go down in price. Whenever you put new pipes in, if you fix your house, the price never goes down. It always seems to get higher. And right now, it's getting rough. So we need to focus where we can if we have the money and invest in infrastructure and keep it getting better.
Dan?
Well, with the growth coming our way, it's like a tidal wave. I see it, and I know a lot of other people see it. We need to invest into our, infrastructure, because the more people that come, the more people use it. If you do not upkeep it or improve it, it's going to fail eventually, and then we're going to have to put more money in it. So the money needs to be planned for ahead of time. You need to look down the road. But like I said before, we need to get with the auditors, we need to get with the accountants and everything else and sit down and work out a plan. We need to work as a team, not individual departments. The county needs to work together, plain and simple.
Lovejoy?
I would say getting together with each department and finding out what is essentially needed for each department, and then go through the list and find out what is actually feasible, and not just going to one place.
Eric?
Let's go back to reserves again. The county does have a problem with hoarding money. We have the $09 economic development, which is designed to bring in economic development in our city. We sit on that money. There's close to $4 million in that account, and we're using it to subsidize a failing sewer system in Belfair. The whole entire county is paying so this sewer system keeps running, and instead of using that money for economic development, it could be used to bring in other business, and we're not doing that. We have $1406, which is set to do housing issues, homelessness issues. That account's not been used for 7 or 8 years. It's up to about $500,000. We could be using that to mitigate some of our problems downtown. There's just the treatment sales tax has always got a $1 million balance in it. We're using that for the courts or for maybe public defenders or prosecutors. I mean, they just sit on this money too much. We need to use it to benefit the county.
Karen?
Well, I think infrastructure for sure. I think we need to go to the departments, like Lovejoy was saying, and ask them what their top priority is. And then we rank the priorities on that. Because you're right, infrastructure and growth is coming, and we need to be prepared.
Let's move on to the next question here. Dan, we'll start with you. This is regarding public safety. Sheriff's deputy costs about $150,000 a year fully loaded. Would you shift rural sales tax at .09 money to pay for more deputies? And what do you say to residents who maybe feel the sheriff's office isn't able or hasn't been able to respond to certain complaints that they see, and I know there's a lot of geography and the amount of sheriff's deputies in our community and the state is very low, but what would you do to help raise that, and would that include shifting some rural sales tax, that .09 fund?
Yeah, I think more sales tax, that sales tax fund should pay for more sheriffs. We definitely need to get more sheriffs in, because when we first started this campaign, it was at one sheriff for every 1,000 was, it was 0.86, but now that all the snowbirds and people have increased the population, it's a half a sheriff to every 1,000 people. So we need more people. So the way to get that is to sit down with the budget, eliminate all the useless spending, like those contracts I told you about. That was $140,000 out the door. We could have paid for one sheriff for that. So we need to figure out the budget. We need to get hot on it.
Are those funds appropriate use on the .09? Anybody else feel that they should use that money for that?
I don't believe those funds should be used for 09. We definitely could use more sheriffs, but there is actually an option out there. There's a public safety sales tax that's available. The public would vote on that. It's 0.3%, and that could provide more sheriff support if the people wanted that.
Who thinks on here that the public is open to a additional sales tax for public safety? Anybody? And you want to talk about that, George?
I think more often than not, if you bring it to the people and you give them the option, that they more often than not will go with it. Because if you get an explanation, as opposed to some people sitting in a room somewhere that bang a gavel and say, now we're going to pass more taxes on everybody. Because that's what everybody thinks happens in government. I think the greatest thing in the world you can do is put it on the ballot, get it to the people and say, hey, look, here's the pros and cons for what we got going on here, and let's get it done.
Ladies, would either of you use the .09 funds for either new sheriff's deputies, or is that an appropriate use? Karen?
You know, I don't know enough about the topic to say that, but I think we need to explore opportunities or avenues how we can bring more money, because we do need more sheriffs. We do need that, especially when you're out in the county.
Lovejoy, do you want to comment on that? Or let's bounce off what Karen was just saying, and ways that we can bring in additional revenue into the county to help out the budget.
Ways that we can bring it in, more of income, huh? I think that's a hard topic, because no one wants to hear that you're going to raise taxes. I mean, I know for a fact that people's property taxes are through the roof, and no one's happy with that. I think that would be something that we would have to sit down and discuss and find out if there is any other possible ways we could bring more income in, or whether or not there were other ways that we could decrease our spending on certain things within the departments.
You'll be just one of 3 votes on the dais there for the county commissioners. Dan, how would you talk with the other commissioners on ways to help bring in more funds for the county?
Well, we're going to have more residents, so we're going to need more businesses to support those people. We can start bringing in the bigger companies like Costco and Home Depot, but we'd have to work with them and, make deals and typical corporation type things.
Do you feel like Mason County is currently friendly to businesses?
Oh, some businesses, like people like the smaller businesses, but if we're having this much influx of people coming in, we're going to have to get bigger supermarkets and bigger, convenience stores or whatever. But like I said before, we need to plan for that, because you don't want a row of pot shops and, 7-Elevens. You want to look at what the community can have in their urban build centers and go from there. And then, that would provide jobs, and it would keep going, and job and more people. But it has to be in a specific urban center where you can build. And we want to keep our rural areas as rural as possible. So we don't want to overbuild, but we don't want to underbuild either. So.
I'm interested in hearing anybody else's comments on this when it comes to preparing an infrastructure for upcoming growth and putting in the funds and the builds to make those parcels and parts of land attractive to not only building development but commercial access as well? Where do you kind of sit on having that growth available, almost like a turnkey situation where people can see what's available in Mason County and come in, versus going, well, if you're here, we'd love to have you, but we need you to contribute on this, or we need this, or it's going to be another blank many years before that infrastructure is available. Who's got something on that? Lovejoy?
Well, I would say people also need to remember this is a rural county. That's why for generations our families have been here, because they appreciate being in a rural county. And there is a reason there's Growth Management Act. But there are also variances they can do with the Growth Management Act to change parcels, like if you're in the Mason Lake area and they won't let you subdivide it. There are certain variances that you can do so it looks exactly like the parcels next to you. But overall, I think some people need to remember that there's a reason people came here, because it is a rural county. And there are certain things you can do in the UGA, but they also need to keep the farms.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment on that?
Well, I know a while back they had the EDC, the tribes, the ports, the city, and the county all came together for growth. They had a couple sessions and it didn't go very far, and I think that needs to be brought back and then look for where we can do those industrial sites or larger companies coming in for opening businesses and figure out what we can do.
The Growth Management Act dictates on how we can grow in our county, and then we also do our comprehensive plan, the city and county, and it took about 2 years for each of us to get that accomplished, and we just adopted that. And that kind of dictates where your growth is going to be. There's plenty of public feedback. There's public hearings. There's committees that we had realtors on it. We had business leaders. We had council members. So there's a lot of feedback. It goes in the newspaper. So there's a lot of feedback for that. Now, as in for growth should pay for growth, no doubt about it. If you're going to build 2,000 homes, you should be running the water, the sewer, the electrical, all yourself. Now, we do have an option to do some stuff for smaller developments that really can't do that. They say, hey, well, I want to build something here. We have the $09 for economic development, and we don't use them for that purpose most of the time.
But if a company is looking at parcels and another community is saying, we're going to do this for you, it's ready to go, and then you just move on past that, how do you square that?
Well, the $09 are meant for that kind of purpose. If there was something that was going to bring in some real jobs, I would say, yes, let's use the $09 to build a sewer to that parcel. The problem is we've got people coming in with 5 jobs. They want us to run $1 million in sewer or $2 million in sewer for 5 jobs. That's just not feasible. Bring me 300 jobs and then I'll think about it.
Dan, George?
I'm definitely going to agree. Growth has to pay for growth, because there's no such thing as a free lunch. If you show up and you try to build something over here, it's going to have impact on all the people around you. It's going to have an impact on the infrastructure. It's going to have an impact on the water. It's going to have an impact on your schools. It's going to have an impact on everything. So that growth is going to need to pay for itself. When we don't do that, that's when we create the problems that we have in other communities where they're going broke.
And Dan?
I don't think anybody up here said that, growth should be paid for by Mason County. We're all on the same page, I believe. But growth should pay for growth, but we need to make it enticing for them to want to come here. And you've got to have the facilities ahead of time before they even come here. They're not going to invest, millions of dollars if they are still wondering whether they can move here and operate as a business. So we need to plan, we need to have things ready for them to move in, and then maybe get the money back from them after they move in. But to say that, yeah, you can come in and spend millions of dollars, that makes no sense for the company. So like I said, we're gonna have to work with them, and everyone's different, every person. Everything's a team. You gotta be team, so.
Let's move on to the next question. Karen, we'll start with you on this one. Talks a little bit about more of our rural way of life here, though on the edge of the year anniversary of the Bear Gulch fire. It's on wildfire risk. It leads some insurers to drop coverage on local homes, and it's just a tough situation when we see our rural way of life, and we want to make sure our property owners can manage real fire and growth risk. How do you protect both that rural way of life, but also being mindful of the wildfire risks?
Oh, the wildfire risk. Bill's son lives in Wenatchee, and the wildfires almost destroyed his home. And you see in the forest, and I think there needs to be a little bit more some management on the forestry side to take down those dead trees that have been around so the fire risk doesn't go any further. How you fix it for the homeowners, that's a sticky wicket, really. There's going to have to be some processes in place to protect them, protect their home.
Do you think there should be any sort of mandates through either the county or fire service to make sure the property and the spaces, defensible spaces around their homes are up to date?
I think there should be, yes. You need to protect your property, but you need to be smart, and you need to have those processes in there so you know how to protect your property correctly.
And Lovejoy, you talked a lot about the rural lifestyle, so kind of the similar question here. People like to live in the woods here in the county, and there is some real risk to doing that. What do you say?
I would say that I think most people are capable of making those determinations for themselves. They should be a little more proactive on their own property. But as far as mandating them, I don't agree with that. Everyone's adults. They're able to make those decisions for themselves. As far as the risk, I do agree there's too many people setting fires. It would be nice if we could actually catch some of them that were setting the fires. Some of them are accidental. I mean, unfortunately, accidents do happen. I would like to see some sort of maybe, I know we have the fire restrictions and stuff, but people are not always adhering to them.
George, do you have anything to add on this when it comes to fire safety here, not only in the city limits, but throughout countywide?
So last year we saw that the Bear Gulch fire devastated our community as far as economically for tourism, and you know, none of us could go up there and check out all our favorite places and the reasons that we live here. So something that I've discovered is that in our community there is places where they have different setups where you have a tank with water specifically set up there for firefighting. I think we need to look more into doing more of those, number one. I've spoken about that before in my campaign. And number two, we don't need to build infrastructure going into other communities. We need to focus on building infrastructure here so we can add fire hydrants to the rest of our community. That would be, I think, a much better use of 09 funds in order to create more infrastructure. We need to be able to fight these fires. They come in here and you go up, you have empty fire hydrant. There's nothing worse than that. And we can't have that here. And we need to add more fire hydrants so that we can fight that, because this is a real problem here. Not something that happened, 3,000 miles away. It's happening here regularly and regularly enough. Thankfully, we've had a good summer so far. We've had a lot of rain, but we all know that we're 2 weeks of dry weather away from anything happening.
So you're talking a little bit about expanding sewer capabilities into other parts of the county to have that water flow?
No. I said we could do better to spend money on this than expanding our sewer in Belfair.
Okay. Eric, what do you think about how we mitigate fire safety within neighborhoods, communities, as well as kind of what Lovejoy was saying, personal responsibility?
Well, the government definitely needs to thin the forests out, but I'm not going to tell anybody what to do on their private property. That's their property, and they should be able to live the way they want to live. As you know, it's too bad that insurance is a zero-risk business these days, that they don't want to pay you $1 if your house burns down, and if it does, the guy next door loses his insurance because of that fire. So, basically, I think that they just need to thin some forests out, but as for private property owners, it's their property. They can do what they want.
Dan, how do you square the people have the right to own their own property, but again, they're part of a society where their neighbors may be impacted by their decisions when it comes especially to forest management?
Well, people do have the right to their own property to a point. If they start putting cars up and they're precarious, they're going to fall into the road or anything like that, or attracting rats, pests, diseases, that's when the code enforcement steps in and makes them clean up their property. Now, I'm an out-of-the-box thinker. this could be easily solved by once, maybe twice a year, opening the dump so people can take their waste, clean up their property, and just take it in, don't have to pay for it. Because a lot of these properties that look messy, people don't have a lot of money. So if we open up the county dump and even had community groups go out and help either the elderly or the disabled clean up their property, we would all benefit from that. You know, maybe paint a building on Railroad. We're all here together, and we can get together as a group and make it happen. That's what I do all the time with the vets. So we can make this happen and clean up Shelton, clean up Mason County.
Time for our final question here, and Lovejoy, I'll start with you, and it'll go down the line as well with your other candidate answers here. County is holding about $1.5 million in opioid settlement money that's still unspent. I would like to know what you think the first priority should be for that money, and whether or not it is properly earmarked for any specifics.
You said opiate?
Opioid money is a settlement from the state that we received.
Well, I think that's something that we should definitely hold a hearing about, and as far as letting the taxpayers have a comment on that as to where they think it should be spent. I mean, if it's definitely for opiate, it should definitely go for deterrence for it. And unfortunately, with drug use, it's also something the person has to decide to walk away from. You can't always get them to do it on their own, but it's definitely a personal decision that they'll have to make. But I think it'd be more towards just having a conversation with department heads and having a public hearing and letting people put in their comments as to where they think it should be directed.
George?
Honestly, I think it'd be a good idea to use that to clean up some of the needles and whatnot in the woods. I'd like to see them working more towards that and get away from handing out needles and things like that, because that hasn't done a whole lot to help us. We've seen that becomes everywhere, and they're all over the place. I'm tired of stepping in it, and I think that'd be a good use for that.
Eric?
The opiate dollar should be used for prevention to make sure that we keeping our kids off of drugs. I actually work with our federal and state delegations on right now kratom, nitrous oxide. So we got mushroom powders. I testified last year in Olympia 5 or 6 times on kratom and nitrous oxide. We were successful getting nitrous oxide out of our convenience stores on June 11th. It was gone. Kratom is next. Hopefully our 35th will co-sponsor a bill with the Senate. We're working right now. We're in a collaborative group right now that we're working on that. But yes, it should be for prevention. I'm on the Housing Behavioral Advisory Board. Well, I'm not on that board anymore. I'm on the Substance Abuse Coalition Board. I'm on the Opiate Stakeholders Board. So I'm very familiar with the funds, but definitely prevention is where we got to go. We got to start early in our schools.
Dan?
Quick question, is this opiate money from the state?
Yeah.
Okay, most money from the state comes with stipulations. I haven't seen the grant or thing for this, so I'm sort of shooting off the cuff here. But opiate training should be in schools for kids and keep them off drugs. But we need more than just money. You can't throw money at the drug problem. You need training, you need compassion, you need to actually teach people how to get off drugs and how to fix their lives and move forward. We tend not to do that. We just throw money at things or say, oh, housing's the key. You know, housing is a part of it, but you have to get them clean first, get them reasonable, then counsel them, then train them, and encourage them through their journey to where they're back to a good citizen. So the opiate money, yes, training is top notch for me. We should train everybody, you know, but it has to come with other things. This is where politicians lose it. They think this is going to solve it or this is going to solve it. It's a whole unit that solves it.
Karen?
Well, I think we need to start with education for sure. We need to get together with all the agencies that deal with people who are afflicted with that to figure out how we can help them best. I think cleanup is definitely another thing we need to work on. And it's a three-party. You've got to bring everyone together and slice up the pie and kind of divvy it to all those agencies that can help them. So.
Time now for our closing statements. We'll go in reverse order. You'll have 60 seconds for your closing statement. Lovejoy, we'll start with you, and so please take your time. Your 60 seconds begin when you start.
Well, I am looking for your support on this. I am not a politician, which I'm sure you can tell by now. I am very straightforward. I like things to be out in the open, transparent. I always open to helping other people solve issues. I have a lot of experience with ethical jobs, and I am hoping to be your ethical representation for Mason County. And I'm hoping to help anyone that has any issues, whether it be land use to right-of-way issues, obviously, to anything else that concerns people. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lovejoy Schaefer. Let's see, Karen Shade, your 60 seconds begin when you start.
How about Karen Sullivan?
Oh,
that's
Karen
close.
Sullivan,
I know,
sorry.
that's all right.
It's an old habit.
Thank you all. I again want to say thank you for everyone being here. I'm the newbie here. I haven't been on any city council, so I'm going to be that person to ask why we're doing things the way we've done for so many years. I'm looking to say if it doesn't work, then why are we still doing it? I'm big on fiscal responsibility and the budget and the money saved. I think we've got too much there. I think it's not being used for our taxpayers, and I think we need to bring integrity back. I think we're going down a slippery slope, and I want to bring it back.
Thank you, Karen. Dan, you have 60 seconds for your closing statement.
Good. Like I said, I'm Dan Cameron. I'm running for county commissioner. I think that Mason County is a great group of people. We can fix all these problems with just teamwork and getting together and working on issues. We can clean up parks, we can get together, we can make Mason County great. So we have a lot of growth coming, and can't imagine how many more times I can say that, but we need to plan for it, because if we don't, it's gonna eat us. And the budget needs to be transparent, and it also needs to be fiscally responsible. So we need to look at a lot of things. Things are coming. Thank you. I hope I get your vote.
Thanks, Dan. Eric, your time of 60 seconds starts when you begin your statement.
Again, I'm Eric Onisco. I'm running for County Commissioner District 3. I just want to say I just didn't decide to come to county meetings when I started running for office. I've been coming to those meetings for a good 10 years plus. I've involved myself in every aspect of city and county business. I've been a chair of the Transit Board. I'm the current 2026 board chair for the Board of Health. I've been on the Substance Abuse Coalition Board. I've been on the Opiate Settlement Board. Oh my gosh, I can't even think of all the boards I've been on, but I've learned a lot about county and city operations. I believe that I'm the best person to go in there and work with everybody. I've worked with delegations, Democrat, Republicans, to save the ROTC program for the kids at the high school. I worked up in DC to save that program. I've worked with our delegations on Kratom also, and nitrous oxide and other bills, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Eric. George, you have 60 seconds for your closing statement.
Hey everybody, thank you all for coming out today. My name is George Blush, and I am still running for Mason County Commissioner District 3. I tell you what, it's been an interesting day, and I'm absolutely thrilled that everyone came out to hear all the different opinions that we had to say here. This is a difficult thing to do, and I'm honored to be here in front of all of you, and I hope you'll consider voting for me in the upcoming election, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the candidates for Mason County Commissioner District 3, Lovejoy Schaefer Karen Sullivan, Dan Cameron, Eric Anisco, and George Blush. Again, your ballots will be out this week, and you'll see here in the District 3 your opportunity to pick the top 2 to move on to November. I want to thank Mason Web TV. I want to thank all of you for being here, and I also want to thank the Mason County Republicans for asking me to facilitate this conversation today. We have the space here until 4, so we have a little of extra time. Now is a good opportunity to talk more with all of the candidates, learn a little bit more about what they said here today and some of their future plans. So thanks again for being here, everyone. It's important, and again, the ballots will be out this week.
The preceding presentation on Mason Web TV, powered by HCC, has been brought to you by Hood Canal Communications, committed to providing quality services that exceed customer expectations in voice, video, data, and customer service, keeping our community connected since 1934. Mason County Public Health and Human Services Prevention Education Partners Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition. Mason PUD 3, connecting our community with safe, reliable, economical, and sustainable services 24/7. The Conklin team at Windermere Real Estate. When it comes to real estate, nothing compares to local knowledge. Mason County Public Utility District Number 1, Washington State's first public utility district, proudly serving the Hood Canal in Mason County since 1935. The Port of Shelton, promoting possibilities and providing economic benefit to our community. And Mason Health, united community, empowered people, exceptional health.
Thanks for watching Mason Web TV, powered by HCC.